First step to make the funnel is to trace along the dotted lines. Next step is to cut along all these solid lines. Before I cut out all these little pieces here, I want to do a couple of things. I want to fold along these thick dotted lines that I traced already. Just these two right here. It'll save a lot of time trying to fold these one at a time later. For this piece, you're going to cut around the outside of the circle, down this line right here, and cut out this small circle on the inside. When I cut down this direction, I'm going to actually cut along the right edge as I look down it, right along those, so it's close to those tiny little arrows. So I'm leaving most of the black ink on this piece right here. It makes it a little bit easier for the next step. I'm going to tape together the circle part to make the main part of the funnel. And here it's important that you line up these arrows so that they touch tip to tip, all of them. And you may have to kind of warp the paper a little bit. It'll feel like you're having to tug on it a bit to make this arrow touch that arrow, and these all three sets of arrows so that you're just touching each other, just like that. Use a small piece of tape here, hold it in place. And I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to put some tape on the other side. Right now it will not form a nice funnel and there will be a dent if you don't tape the back. And you don't want that. So you tape down the back. You can't push harder, it's going to bend the paper. But so I usually hold it in the air, put some tape on the back, and then you should have a very good funnel shape. It should lie flat on the table when it's upside down like this. Alright, the next step is to tape together the funnel entry, long funnel wall, and short funnel wall. And I'm going to line up the funnel entry with the long funnel wall. And I'm going to overlap and put the funnel entry on top of here so that this flap will line up with this flap. And just like that. I'm going to put a piece of tape across here. And I'm going to look down from this end to make sure this is a straight line. I do not want it to be bending this way or this way. I'm going to flip it over and put some tape on the back as well. I'm going to attach the short funnel entry to this end over here. I'm going to line this up. Again, I'm going to overlap one flap from here on one flap on there. And again, I want to make sure that it's a straight line and not bending one way or the other. I'm going to flip it over and put some tape on the back. And I'm going to have it this time fold around the other side. It will make it a stronger joint if I can just fold it around like that. So I'm going to bring this together over here. And I'm going to finish off the circle. And I'm going to tape this edge right here. I'm going to put one piece of tape so it comes around this corner and wraps around there. So I'm going to line up these two edges. This edge of the funnel entry and this edge of the short funnel wall. Make sure they're lined up. Wrap the tape around like that. And then I can straighten it out in this direction and put some tape on this side as well. And I can bring it back to a circle shape like this. Next step is take the funnel floor and place it inside this strip that you just taped into a circle. Should just barely fit. And if we flip it over, we're going to have to tape down these little tabs. I'm going to start, the most important place is right here, so I'm going to make sure that is in the right spot. So I'm going to line this up so it's a nice smooth edge, so it's edge to edge right there. I'm going to put a piece of tape on here. Make sure this entry is as smooth as possible. And now I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to start taping these tabs down. And make sure that the paper does not come away from Make sure the circle does not come away from these tabs. So I'm going to hold this right up against here. I can do a few of these tabs at a time. And I'm going to put one more piece of tape across the back of this seam. And this is your funnel. It should lay flat like this. If it's bent one way or the other, you may need to undo some of the tape, hold it flat, and redo the tape again. There's one more piece. This is the funnel flap, and this is really only an optional piece. Most of the time I don't use it, but it will go right along here, and you would only use this if your marble is coming, say, without the flap. The only time I would ever use the flap is if the marble comes through here and is going so fast that it ends up bouncing against this wall and then slowing down a lot and then leaving the funnel too quickly. In that case, I would put this funnel flap on here to make sure that the marble goes around the outside and then has this smooth wall to make this more of a smooth transition the second time it comes around the funnel. And to use this, you probably guessed, but you just put a small piece of tape on here, line this up, make sure that the funnel flap does not, that's pretty good like that. Make sure it doesn't rub against the floor of the funnel. So the marble would come in now, go around the outside, and then it would be more of a smooth transition each time it comes around, as long as it's still traveling around the outside edge. Like I said, that's only an optional piece, and it's hardly ever needed. Funnels also need to be attached very securely to your structure for them to work well. In this case, I attached some beams at just the right distance, so I spaced it so it would fit the funnel perfectly. Notice the funnel doesn't shake very much as the marble goes around. Here's another way to attach a funnel. I'm using one of the existing columns, and I added 3 short columns, and I attached the top of the funnel so that it's even with the top edge of each of these columns. And this is fairly secure. And by making it secure, it allows the marble to stay in the funnel for a very long time. As the marble goes around, the funnel does not shake, and that's very important.